So there is a great revival. The people are shouting, "He is God, he is God." Even King Ahab witnessed all of this. King Ahab was terrible, terrible king. But he witnessed this whole scenario, and I think he was impressed. He was like, wow, maybe the God of Elijah really is the God to follow. And there had not been rain for 3.5 years, and Elijah now announces that God's judgment, because there's a revival in the land, that God is now going to allow rain to come. So chapter 18, verse 41, and Elijah said to Ahab, "Go eat and drink, for there is the sound of a heavy rain." So Ahab went off to eat and drink, but Elijah climbed to the top of Carmel, bent down to the ground, and put his face between his knees, and he prays for the rain to come, and the rain does come. Verse 44. The seventh time the servant reported, "A cloud as small as a man's hand is rising from the sea." So Elijah said, "Go and tell Ahab, King Ahab, hitch up your chariot and go down before the rain stops you." Meanwhile, the sky grew black with clouds. The wind rose. A heavy rain started falling, and King Ahab rode off to Jezreel. Jezreel is the capital of Israel. And so he gets into his chariot to ride off. Verse 46, the power of the Lord came on Elijah, and he tucked his cloak into his belt. He ran ahead of Ahab all the way to Jezreel, which is about 20 miles away. So the power of God, Elijah's like, wow, this is a great day of victory. And the Spirit came upon Elijah, and he had this incredible power that he could run 20 miles ahead of that chariot that King Ahab, I'm sure, had a couple of horses. And King Ahab is, oh, wow, look at this guy. Look at how he's running 20 miles. And that's because the power of God came on Elijah, just like with Samson, and had incredible strength and ability. Ahab is running to the capital. Revival is spreading. And King Ahab is going to go report, and Elijah's like, let's spread the revival to the whole country now. Chapter 19. 1 Kings chapter 19. Now King Ahab told Jezebel everything Elijah had done, and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword, the false prophets. And maybe King Ahab was a little impressed, like, hey, God moved and a revival broke out on Mount Carmel. But Jezebel is the one that wears the pants in this family. And you'll see what a wimp King Ahab is in a couple of chapters. You'll see just how conniving and Queen Jezebel is. So he maybe thought he would impress Queen Jezebel, but no way. Verse 2, so Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah to say, may the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that of one of them. You are a dead man. Verse 3, Elijah was afraid and ran for his life. Wow, what a change here. I know, in the original scriptures, there isn't chapter numbers. So literally a few verses before, Elijah is running 20 miles. Yeah, revival's coming to Jezreel, to the capital. And a few hours later, Elijah is running the other way for his life. And I'm like, I told you the history of revival never lasts very long, because Satan It is amazing what Satan will do when revival breaks out. And so churches and people that are running for the Lord, strong for God, are, running into the battle, running to face the enemy, and all of a sudden they're running the other way. By the way, well, I guess there's Elijah. Here's a thought I had, a principle. So here's this great man of God, and he's an important prophet of the Old Testament. After all, you know that Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration met with Moses and Elijah. Okay? We know John the Baptist came in the spirit of Elijah, that. But here he is. Instead of, I thought we were supposed to stand and resist the devil, and the devil would flee from you. But here we have Elijah running from the devil. So I have a principle here for you. I know that the church as a whole is going to be victorious over the enemy, that the gates of hell will not prevail, that Jesus is going to win the battle, okay? But, and I know, Life Point Alliance, that together we're going to be victorious for Jesus. But it can be different for individual soldiers of the Lord, what you experience. Together we're victorious, but individually there may be casualties of fear and anxiety and hurt from the enemy. Like World War II. Think about World War II. When Britain and the USA landed on the beaches in Normandy in France, and General Patton brought the armies up into Italy from Africa, and when the Russians were moving in from the east, the war was over. Germany knew that they were defeated. It was just a matter of time. But there were soldiers who lost their lives, even though at that point everyone knew Germany is done. There were casualties. You with me? So I say all that. Elijah's like, there's a great revival. All the people are excited. But it's different than when Satan himself targets you individually and says, I'm out after you. So I say that to tell you that, when you leave, when I've seen revival and, I feel protected in the church, but when I go out in my daily walk, Satan is not so nice. And he can come and bring terrible discouragement to our lives and attacks. Not that we're losing our salvation, but Satan is a horrible enemy. He knows that his time is short. He's full of rage, and he's on the warpath.